Hi everybody, my name is Jessica and this is my channel Plant Hooker. Today I'm going to talk about this big beauty. Well, he's not really big for the species that this guy is. This is my Guyana chestnut, or money tree, or money plant, or its proper Latin name, Pachira aquatica. Now, everybody knows this plant as a money tree. And the legend is, when you have a money tree, you put a coin in the soil and you'll have good fortune for the rest of your tree's life. That legend actually originates where this tree is native from. Like, it's native to Central and South America, in like the swamps, the wetlands. This is a swamp tree that you see. But in the wild they can get up to 60 feet tall, and in their house is, I think the tallest one I've ever seen was 10. Now, the legend is a man had prayed to the gods for luck, for wealth. And while walking through the jungle one day, he happened upon this guy, a small version of this guy. And he thought it was quite the odd plant, took it home, planted it in his yard, and then started to make babies out of the seeds that it would drop from the nuts that this plant makes. And then he would sell those trees. And that's how he earned his wealth, and that's how the money tree became a popular cultivar. So, again, and it's also a flowering tree, along with the nuts that it makes. Mind you, most of us probably won't see flowers because, well, in the wild it takes a minimum of 5 years before they will make flowers. But in homes we don't have bees to pollinate them, and these guys do not like to be put outside. They, even though like their hardiness zone is like a 9B, they don't like to be outside. Even though I have this guy in a west-facing window, most of the time these guys do not like harsh light. They don't like bright, direct light. Their leaves can burn very easily. They're very sensitive to drafts. Like, for an example, I think I can get him to go a little bit closer. Like, if you see the damage on that leaf, that's from cold drafts. Oh, and there's one here too. Because because of the size that he is, and how this plant typically is, like, he likes moist air. Like, he can handle like your regular humidity, but because I have a wood stove, my only other west-facing window that doesn't have drafts is like 5 feet away from my wood stove, and he would not be happy there at all. He'd be dying. So I have him in my doorway to the outside because it's a west-facing window. It's big enough for him because my other west-facing window is quite small, and then my picture window, which is another west-facing window, is already full of plants, and my cats love to eat this guy, so I can't have him on the floor. And eventually you will see somebody come along to see if they can nibble on him eventually, because even though their nuts are toxic to like rats, people can eat them, but they suggest only eating like small portions of them. There hasn't been enough studies to show how toxic they are to our systems, but they are non-toxic cats, and my cat loves to eat this guy. So, sensitive to cold drafts, and but the flowers that it does make, because they can't be pollinated, so you won't get nuts. But when they do make their flowers, the way the flowers open up, it kind of resembles like a banana peel. It's the pictures I've seen of them are quite funny. Now, but yeah, in the wild they can get up to 60 feet, so they'll make their flowers and nuts and whatnot. And But and then they also say too, because a lot of people will usually lose these guys in the first year, and I'm not 100% sure on why. And to make sure I didn't lose him, I didn't fertilize him the first year I had him. I only started fertilizing him in October, because then it was a whole year by then since I started fertilizing him. And one thing I do suggest people do when you get a money tree, because it's happened to me, and I know of one other person on the island that it happened to, and I've seen it to happen to at least 2 other people on like plant forums that you see, especially on Instagram and Facebook. As soon as you get these guys, take all the soil off of them and change the pot, because a lot of them, like to keep them bunched up together, some companies are putting black electrical tape around them. Now, with this guy, you can kind of see where the tape was right here. Now, a lot of people have lost their plants because they didn't take the tape off quick enough, and it actually smothered the tree. Or by the time they notice it and they take it off, it takes the whole bark off, and that area is exposed, and you have to like kind of raise them up and have this part above the ground so then it doesn't rot. So I was able to save my tree. There was another stem part, but the roots weren't connected, so I kind of potted that in a separate pot, and I gave that as a present to my brother. And everybody can see in the corner there, Ziva has made her appearance. So, and because this is a tropical plant, he enjoys his moisture. I'll mist him about twice a week, especially during the winter because of the wood stove. Because he doesn't like, even though he can handle normal humidity, I find with the wood stove, he is not happy with normal humidity, so I mist him twice a week, and that makes him happy. When it comes to potting soil, you can use all-purpose potting soil, but I would suggest adding extra perlite for more drainage. He is currently in coco coir with perlite for the extra drainage. That works too. He's been very happy with that. I water him during the summertime I'll water him every 2 weeks. And then during the winter time, during the time period where the stove is not going, I can push it to as far as 21 to 24 days. But if we're in a cold snap and the stove is going all the time, then I'll stick to my summer schedule with this guy. And he seems to be quite happy with it. So when you do start fertilizing this guy after your first year, all-purpose fertilizer is fine. And even the fertilizer that's made specifically for green plants is good too. 18 to 25 degrees Celsius is the temperature that these guys prefer. Yeah, I think that's it. Can't really think of anything else with this guy. That and kind of Ziva's giving me a look. She wants to know if she can chew on him. Pest, yes, mustn't forget pests. These guys can be plagued by spider mites and mealybugs and thrisp. I have never had problems with mealybugs or spider mites with this guy. Thrisp, yes. He was more bushier during the summertime than he is now. Like, he lost quite a bit of leaves because of the thrisp. So, and again, just a mixture of insecticidal soap, neem oil, and rubbing alcohol in 1 liter of water. And I sprayed him every 3 days when I could remember. Most of the times it was once a week, because that's usually when all I could remember. And so far so good. I have not seen any thrisp on him. He's very happy. I'm happy. And as long as there's no thrisp. Now he is currently in a 6-inch pot. And these pots, you can find these at your dollar store for like $1 or $2. And they work great. And he's been in this now since June of last year. Yeah, because when I purchased him at my local co-op, it was October. I had him in a 7-inch dish, one of those self-watering planters. And while cleaning it, because like a lot of self-watering planters, it gets a little algae and green, and I just find it so yucky. So while I was cleaning it, I broke it and had to, put him in a bigger pot. So and that's how I discovered the electrical tape around the tree, was that. And once I figured out, oh well, this one's is separated, we'll put him in a different pot, and we'll just, instead of putting him in a bigger pot, I put him in a smaller pot, and he seemed to be quite happy with that. Yeah. That's it. Sorry, he was distracting. Now another thing about these guys, a lot of them when you see them for sale in stores, like they'll be all wrapped up. That can actually be quite bad for some plants. I know, like my Benjamin ficus, my weeping fig, when I got him, he was like that. And so he was like kind of 2 trees in one, and I had to cut off one tree because it had choked itself and was dying, and to save the other half I had to cut it. So another thing you can do, and I do suggest, like unwrapping them. They'll spread out kinda like this, and then people are saying it's not as pretty. Yes, I get it, it's not as pretty. But that trend wasn't started until like the 1980s. And it was the Japanese that started that trend. And it was like a bonsai thing. Not putting them down, it did make for like beautiful cultivars and whatnot. But the trees really can't handle it. And if you want your tree to live for a long time, unravel them. Like, I found him to be far more happier since I did do that. So, yeah. Oh, when you do go to water him, check with your fingers, like 1 or 2 inches. If it's dry, give him water. But if you're using a moisture meter, level 3 is when you need to water him. So that's why I said between the 14 and 21 days. Because then 14 days, check it. If it's still above the 3, leave it for a couple of days. Once it's at the 3, drown him. Because you can and you can't overwater these guys, because they're a wetland plant. But they like to dry out between waterings. So this is my money tree. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't like it, if I didn't do my job right. Subscribe if you wish. That's okay if you don't. Remember to live long and plant on.